world is still grieving following the tragedy perpetrated against the Sikh community in Wisconsin. Here in New York, the Sikh community has come together in a peaceful vigil to commemorate this horrific event. I spoke to leaders in the community here to understand their perspective on the tragedy and to get their vision for how the Sikh community will move forward here in the United States and beyond. I'm with Simranjit Singh, who's a doctoral student at Columbia and is actually an expert in religion. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about what it means to be a Sikh, and I understand that that will help us understand why tonight was so peaceful.
You know, when you think about the basic fundamentals of Sikhism, the basic ideals are rooted in love, oneness, and compassion. We believe that our relationship with the divine is loving. We believe it's respectful, and our responses kind of reflect that.
How will the Sikh community move forward after tonight?
The massacre in Wisconsin was against Sikhs, but it was also against basic human dignity. It was against basic human and American values. And so when somebody says this is a case of mistaken identity, I'm very troubled by that. And many Sikhs are very troubled by that because that implies there's a correct identity. That implies that there is somebody who should be targeted. And the Sikh community has been standing up continuously and saying, that's not right. We are standing in solidarity with the Muslim community, you know, the mosque raising that happened in Joplin. We are standing in solidarity with the African American community in memory of Trayvon Martin, for example. You know, these things touch our hearts just as much as the Wisconsin massacre, and we want to use this as an opportunity to bring positive change.
I'm joined now by Saprit Kaur, who is the executive director of the Sikh Coalition. Saprit, tonight is a very important night. I'm sure everybody's perception of the Sikh community will be changed forever after tonight.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today here. It's a really important moment for Americans across the country to stand in solidarity with one another.
What do you think really has been the greatest misperception of the Sikh community?
I think it's just that people didn't know who Sikhs were, and so I think it was just a vacuum of information.
Do you think that this really is the unfortunate climax of many years of discrimination against the Sikh community that may have really gone unnoticed?
There are so many cases, in particular in the backlash since 9/11, and it's hard to imagine that the culmination of that hasn't in some way affected where we are today.
And I'm joined now by Jeff Saulken, who's the director of the Anti-Defamation League in New Jersey. Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Baruch.
So what actually brought you out from New Jersey tonight to this vigil here right in the center of New York City?
When people are murdered because of their ethnic group, when people are murdered because of their religious persuasion, the ADL is there.
How do you think people's perception of the Sikh community will change after tonight and after this horrific event?
I have a funny feeling that many people never thought twice about the Sikhs. Ultimately, all ethnic others are tied together. I think this is going to spark a lot of curiosity about the Sikh faith.
Baruch here with Saprit Kaur from the Sikh Coalition. How are you, Saprit?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having us here tonight.
No, thank you.
As a woman in the Sikh community, are there any particular challenges that you experience on a daily basis?
I actually think that the Sikh faith is very empowering for women. In the Sikh faith, we strongly believe that all people are created equal. Punjabi, English, French, it does not matter who you are, where you're from, what religion you practice, you are all equal.
What does the outward display, the visual display of your faith mean to you?
When you see me, when you see my brother, when you see my sister, you know that we're here to protect others. You know that we are here and we live an honest life, that we want to share with others and that we want to be kind. And that when you see me, that you can see all those qualities in me.
The leaders and members of the Sikh community here in Union Square tonight have expressed to me that the Sikh religion is really one of positivity and hope. And that really was the atmosphere here at the vigil tonight. The Sikh community has rallied around this tragedy, and they've embraced all Americans who have experienced hate or discrimination or otherness throughout the country. And of course, we want to hear what you think, so be sure to tweet us at Waywire, tweet me at Baruch Shem Tov, and as always, subscribe to Waywire.